welcome back to a day on the Chester Christmas Explorer Railtour. We have just literally departed Chepstow and our next station should be Caldicot. We're going at some speed and we're following the River Severn, or we're not now. You can have a look at the River Severn though in the other video. Are we following the River Severn? As you can see, we're going at full speed, full 80 miles an hour, maxing out the Class 37's capable speed. With freshly repainted 37669 up front and then 37706 behind it, we've got some very good locos. Also, very good thrash, well, on inclines. We won't be getting much of that though because we're going full speed. Anyway, next station, Caldicot. This is Caldicot, where we are supposed to stop for crew change. And as you can see, it's a shorter station, but it's also in the middle of the countryside. But we overshoot the platform. In fact, we don't stop at all, because instead of having a driver on the platform to crew change, it's in cab. Around about 2 minutes later, we come to Caldicot's next door neighbour, like literally next door neighbour, Severn Tunnel Junction. Severn Tunnel Junction has a couple more platforms than Caldicot. Caldicot has 2, Severn Tunnel Junction has 4, I believe. And the difference is it's on the Great Western Main Line. So the line goes to Cardiff. No trains in the station, but there are a couple of enthusiasts. We're currently going through the outer track. Not sure if it's actually called that, but it's not got a platform. We're now at the main D junctions. We've just diverted back off the Great Western Main Line. We reintegrated onto the Great Western Main Line at Severn Tunnel Junction. We've not been on it for long. We've been on slow lines, but we're now coming off of it, and we're now going on to I don't know what the line is, but it's going to take us up to Hereford, and eventually after that Shrewsbury. We are soon going to pass Wembrook, the last station on the taxi map. Something that is definitely a bit more rarer in the UK is a railway line right next to a road. As you can see, we're only just running along it, as if we don't run along it for long, but it's still quite good size. We're approaching to Hereford, but we're not stopping here. Well, we're not scheduled to. We will be later though, because it kind of went a disaster at Hereford later that evening. But that's for part 3, so that's something to look forward to. But also the fact how Hereford is such a beautiful station, but as well as that, the fact how that Hereford doesn't actually have a taxi map, so you can't track the train. But still, it's a nice station. One lone wagon. As you can see, it starts to get a little bit wet on the ground. This is due to because of a recent storm at the time of filming. You can see a lake in the background. That's not normally a lake. That's all been flooded. So it's still very wet, and we're just going along the railway, just doing our own business with the 37s at the front. They're 37s. They can take us anywhere. I mean, there's nothing wrong with 37s. They're perfectly good, and they thrash a lot. Just going through the English countryside at 70 miles an hour, and it's starting to get a little bit cloudy, but yeah, it's really nice, and it just having the window open, the breeze is lovely. As you can see, we're passing a space, I think it's Space Telemetry Centre. We then passed Ludlow, another station on the line. This time we passed here at quite fast speed again, with a couple of tones from the driver. As you can see, quite fast, and it's also a little station. Very nice. What's really nice about this line is the scenery is really lovely because it's all very hilly. But also about that, we've also got semaphores controlling pretty much most of the line. Shrewsbury's completely controlled with semaphores, and so is this line, hence why there's no taxi map. So then you can't track your train. So the only way you know where you are is by going onto your phone, checking on the maps, and checking whereabouts you are. Which reminds me, there's Craven Arms. After a short while, I head back to the window as we slow down, and then the driver starts putting the power back on, so I go to film the noise again. Not the best scenery, but still the noise just beats everything. We're not stopping as much, but we are slowing down, which means more power gets applied. But still, you can't really interrupt its noise. We're now about 10 minutes away from Shrewsbury, still in the countryside, but it is a bit cloudy, and with the clouds very low and it very hilly, we can see that the clouds are covering up some of the hills. Either way, the weather is kind of on and off at the moment. The difference between this and a heritage railway is a heritage railway, you stick your head out the window, but you can only go 25 miles an hour. With this, you can't stick your head out the window, but you can have the window open going 80. Around about 5 minutes later, we're on the approach to Shrewsbury. You can tell as we're going slower, also there's no fields and it's not as hilly. You know this because we are approaching column LMD, which is Locomotive Maintenance Depot, which is where they keep the RHTT and the Class 97s. which are basically Class 37s fitted with the RTMS. There's 97304, which has recently been renamed, and there is 97303. You don't see them in the south for a very good reason, because they can be used on the Cambrian line and on the Aberystwyth, tell me if I'm spelling that wrong, Aberystwyth Chirk logs, which is normally operated with 37405. So they're used on that more regularly. Welcome to Shrewsbury, a station that has a signal box that holds the world's largest signal box award. I think it's the world's. It's my first time at Shrewsbury, so it's very exciting for me, and the best bit is we have a half an hour stop here so we can have a look at the train. Our train currently consists with 2 locomotives and 13 coaches. One of them is a buffet car, one of them is a kitchen car, and one of them is a brake generator van. They had to move the train as the train didn't completely fit on the platform. The 13th coach, the brake generator van, was half off on the curve and half on the platform. So they had to move the train forward around about 20 metres. This meant that everybody had to either be on the train or off the train. You could have got off at Shrewsbury anyway, or you could have chosen to go to Chepstow or do the Manchester mini tour. But for a lot of people, they would have got off, stretched their legs at Shrewsbury and then got back on. So you saw movement of the train while you were off the train, which is quite cool because then you get to see it move before you go on your travels to a place that you've never been before, or you might have been there before. And that is what you call a brake generator van that is completely useless. When we were getting on the train at Swindon earlier this morning, the lights flickered because the brake generator van wasn't generating enough electric. Class 37s don't have ETH. ETH stands for electric train heating. So they can't provide the power to power the lights, the kitchen car or anything like that. So instead they had to put a brake generator van, but that wasn't doing its job. So at Chester they're going to fit a Duff, a class 47, onto the back to provide power for the lights. Around about 10 minutes later, we have a cloud of fog that comes out from absolutely nowhere. One minute it's not foggy, and the next minute you can't see a thing. We are currently between Shrewsbury and Wrexham, so that's not really any point to have fog either. But we are quite high as well, because we have just had a big incline, so that might have something to do with it as well. Around about 5 minutes later, we arrive into Gobowen. It's a station located between Shrewsbury and Wrexham. It's not a big station, 3 platforms, one of them out of use and is only there for decorative reasons. But we slow right down and it looks like that we're going to stop here until the driver starts applying power and we start going. Great crash for the people watching, but if you were trying to get into the train, today's not the day. It's a very cute little station with a little old wagon in it, but it's also got a lot of character in it as well, which is all of it is really nice. Around about 5 minutes later, we stop at signal GN5. It was red when we stopped there, so it meant danger. As you can see, the weather is kind of foggy, but it's also very sunny at the same time, meaning that you can see the fog more clearly. We put away, and obviously the Class 37's thrashing. If anybody likes the Hellfire, Class 37s do it very well. The fog then cleared, and what turned out to start with rain has now turned into sun. Still very chilly, but sun. And now all of a sudden, it's a car versus train race. We're going at least 70 miles an hour, and there is a car going the same speed as us, and now we're head to head, and now we're trying to beat the car. Well, I don't know who will beat who, but either way, he was pulling ahead a bit. We had passed Wrexham General, but we passed there sooner than I thought, and I missed the opportunity to film us going through. At Chepstow, we have a Class 47 on standby, ready to couple to us, to provide the power that we need to power the lights, especially on the return journey, as the return journey will be almost dark the whole way. The Manchester Mini Railtour that will be going on, which is option C. Option A was Shrewsbury, option B was Chepstow, option C is the Manchester Mini Railtour, will be fine because it will be daylight. But heading back, it will be completely black, and if the whole train goes out, we're going to be sitting there in darkness, and a lot of stuff will happen. As our first part of the journey comes to an end, what you've got to admit is the fact how it's 6 hours there. How do you get back? Oh, same day, 6 hours back. We arrive into Chepstow, a station that I've never been to before. As you can see, there is a Merseyrail class 777 in the platform. As well as that, in the background there's a Mark II carriage. This means that there's another rail tour in the station. However, it is in sidings, so it's not directly at the station. This includes LMS Stayner Black 5 44871, which is a steam engine. As you can see, there is a class 197 as well. Chepstow is a very beautiful station in the same style as Crewe. I do hope you enjoyed today's video, and if you did, make sure to like and subscribe. Next time, and